この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りしました。
In the previous episode, a 3 vs 3 soccer match was finished, and the result of the match was a win for the white team. Kunigami Rensuke, Mikagi Reo, and Chigiri Hyoma. Who will they choose to join them? At that moment Baro had already decided who he would choose. He said, "I want that number 50 after all. Kunigami it is. With that physique we can keep the ball by having him as a post player. If he joins, then we can fill the front lines more. And that would help me score goals." And then Nagi said, "Nah, Ryo's better if that's the case. As an anchor we could have him fill the rear. And most importantly, he's balance out our offense and defense. He's be the best pick for us three to be able to move freely." Baro agreed after hearing those words. However, Isagi disagreed with both of them. He said, "Yeah, that would indeed stabilize our team. But you know, that's something that would destroy our own possibilities. It'd be suicide." Baro and Nagi wondered about Isagi's words. Then Isagi continued his words, "If we stabilize into a well-balanced team right now, would be a correct decision. But that's not our way of doing things. Remember, the key to clearing the second selection are chemical reactions. We're still here, because we were able to pull that off live, during matches. I devoured Baro, and Baro devoured me back. None of us would have been able to even imagine playing like that. I want an asset that's going to devour us. Without someone like that, I'm sure that we can't beat the top three." After hearing Isagi's opinion, Baro and Nagi thought, well, it's a gamble, but it makes sense. Then only that guy would be suitable. Nagi said, "Indeed. They're the only strikers who keep biting our backs." Then Isagi decides on his choice. The only one who can mix into this chemical reaction, and not disappear, is you. Chigiri Hyoma. Upon hearing the decision, there were shocked expressions on the faces of Chigiri, Kunigami and Reo, as if they couldn't believe what was happening. After that, the white team called Chigiri to join them. With a frustrated look on his face, Chigiri walked away from his team, while saying to Kunigami, "Don't forget, we still haven't won against Isagi. I'll be holding on to the same frustration. And waiting up there, hero." At the same time, Nagi approached Reo to encourage him and said, "That last play only because you were the opponent, was able to try and go for it. Because your abilities are excellent, we were able to gamble, because we believed in your talent, to even if forcibly, be able to just barely make that pass. That was seriously a close one. You're amazing after all. That's why I'm now going ahead, but we can still." But before he could finish his sentence, Reo suddenly cut Nagi off by saying, "Then pick me. I don't need words of comfort. Say it clearly, that you don't care about me at all anymore? You've gone off and changed to a person who've forgotten the promise with me to together became the best in the world. If you're abandoning me, then abandon me properly." Hearing Ryo's words, Nagi's expression became serious. He said, "Would you be satisfied if I choose you here? And become a team even if it doesn't feel exciting? Was become the best in the world that simple of a thing? The one who's forgetting our promise is you. Whatever. I've had enough already. You're a pain in the ass, Reo. I don't care anymore." Before the white team went to the next stage, Isagi gave Reo some advice. "Hey Reo, you shouldn't aim to be the one that gets chosen, but the one that chooses. What are you even playing soccer for? Only people who will become the best strikers in the world can survive in Blue Lock." After hearing those words, Reo felt shocked. He sat down and looked down. Suddenly Kunigami pulled him and said, "Don't look down, witness this moment. It's the end of us. Kunigami Rensuke, Mikagi Reo, withdraw to the second stage." With a new teammate, towards the final match with the top three, Baro Shuei, Chigiri Hyoma, Isagi Yoichi, and Nagi Seishiro, advanced to the 4 vs 4 fourth stage. Then in another scene, Bachira and Rin are seen practicing soccer together on the field. They are training to improve their soccer skills. In the middle of the training session, Bachira said, "Getting serious now?" With an annoyed expression, Rin told Bachira to shut up. Then he said, "For someone who's provoking, your lukewarm front bangs." While smiling, Bachira said, "But this is fun, right?" Then while juggling the ball, Rin said to Bachira, "Huh, a dribble like that so reliant on instinct won't work against me." Then Bachira said, "I'd say the chances are 50-50. Never know if you don't try." Rin said, "I do know. Your dribble looks like you're having fun. But afraid of fighting alone. It is a soccer looking for someone. That lukewarm ego won't make my heart dance." Meanwhile, in the fourth stage 4-man room, Baro was busy tidying up his bed. Then Isagi spoke to his teammates. He said, "I wasn't able to confirm today since it's late already, but if Rin and the other are still in this fourth stage, then we will pick them as our next opponents, right?" But at that time no one paid attention to Isagi's words. They were busy with their own activities. Baro was busy tidying up the mattress. Nagi was busy with his cell phone, and Chigiri was drying his hair. Isagi said, "Huh? Anyone listening? Your teammate is talking about important things." Then at that moment in Isagi's mind, well, in addition to those two, it's the selfish princess after all. Looks like life in the community will be even more troublesome than before. However, the calm atmosphere changed when Baro found socks and towels lying on the floor. It turned out that the socks belonged to Chigiri, and the towel belonged to Nagi. Baro, who was known as a man who maintained neatness and cleanliness, was very angry. He told them both to tidy up, but they refused. They were now busy with their individual activities. The team situation in the room was very chaotic. In living together they had poor chemistry. And as usual, Isagi tried to ease the tension in the room. He told them to be patient, then invited them to eat together, but they refused. Chigiri was busy drying his hair, and Nagi was busy watching videos. And that answer made Isagi annoyed. Meanwhile, Baro said yes to Isagi's invitation to go out to eat together, and before leaving Baro told his teammates to tidy up the room before he was back. At the Stage 4 cafeteria, the atmosphere was quiet. No one wanted to start a conversation between the two of them. Then suddenly Baro gave Isagi a sharp look. Isagi wondered if Baro was angry with him. Then he remembered what he said when he spoken harshly to Baro during the previous match. Isagi thought Baro might still hold a grudge against him. But at that moment Baro said to Isagi. He asked what Isagi saw on the field, and what is the soccer that Isagi want to play. Isagi was surprised to see Baro asking him, because he thought Baro still held a grudge against him. Isagi then explained his soccer game to Baro. He said, "My weapons are special awareness and direct shoot, and with off-the-ball movement you will have everything. I use my position myself." Baro responded by saying, "So you're controlling the battlefield like that with them? Tell me sooner." Then Isagi replied, "No, I did tell you earlier. You just don't want to hear my words." Then Isagi apologized to Baro for speaking harshly during the match. Even though it was still wrong, Baro only told him to take back the words incompetent to him. Other than that, Isagi's words were true about him. Baro admits that he is immature, but he is not a coward who doesn't want to change after knowing the pain. Baro, who once died, is now back up, and stronger. Baro asked Isagi what game he wanted to play on this team, but Isagi just smiled and thanked Baro, then said he liked the new Baro. Baro rebutted those words and he said, "The reason I'm trying to know you better is so I can devour that talent and completely beat you to a pulp. If you're thanking the villain, then the change of main actors is just a matter of time." Isagi responded to the challenge by saying, "Sure, try me. I'll tell you about myself. I will evolve twice as fast as you." Baro says Isagi is naive, and he says he will evolve 3 times faster than Isagi, and beats him. Meanwhile in the room, after Sagiri finished drying his hair, he was looking for his stuff to tidy up. He asked Nagi if the clothes were his. Nagi replied that he didn't know. and he was only focused on the screen of his phone. Chigiri was curious what Nagi was watching. Nagi replied, he was watching a soccer game that showed good skills, and it made Nagi want to copy his movements. Chigiri said it was Noel Noah, the world's best striker at the moment. But Nagi didn't know who it was, and he was only interested in his soccer skills. Chigiri laughed and didn't think that Nagi knew little about soccer. Then Nagi asked about the condition of Chigiri's right leg. Chigiri explained, his right leg is a ticking bomb and his partner. It's fine right now. Well, if it breaks again it'd be pretty bad. But he has no regrets. He's running one day at a time with that resolve. Before becoming number one in the world, he has a mountain of people he needs to beat after all. Then Chigiri took Nagi's phone and he told another great player when talking about football. Then it is shown Isagi and Baro walking to his room, having finished eating in the cafeteria. On the way, Isagi wonders how many possibilities his team has now. The reborn Baro, Nagi, Chigiri and himself. Just what kind of soccer can they play? He want to fight with Rin and the others soon. When Baro and Isagi arrived at the door of their room, Baro hoped that Chigiri and Nagi had tidied up, but when he opened the door, Baro was surprised to see that his room was messier than before. Baro saw Chigiri and Nagi messing up all the objects in the room. It turned out that after seeing the video shown by Chigiri, Nagi tried to touch like a ball to all the objects in the room. Now Nagi and Chigiri are trying to touch the shoes, and it works. Baro, who sees it, is getting angry. It turns out that the shoes Nagi uses for training belong to Baro. Chaos was again created in the room. Even so, Isagi was very optimistic, and he will win the next match. And for now he'll just entrust himself to this pleasure. Then the next scene shows a flashback of Bachira, the past of his partner, and the reason he loves soccer. Bachira Meguru loves soccer. From morning to evening, he spent all his time kicking the ball. And whenever he played with other kids, of course, Bachira was the best among them. Notably, he loved dribbling. Sometimes, he'd feel great, as if he and the ball had become one and the same. And when that happened, he'd be incredibly fast and strong. There is nothing in this world that's more fun than this. Bachira believed that. One day while playing soccer, his friends felt bored playing soccer with Bachira, because Bachira was too good, and they suggested going home and playing video games. Then Bachira told his friends, to be strong they must be one with the ball like him, and Bachira thought there was nothing more fun than soccer. After hearing that, his friends thought Bachira was strange and terrible, so they left Bachira because he only thought about soccer. And suddenly Bachira kicked one of his friends in the face, and they fought. After arriving home, Bachira was treated by his mother, and his mother said that Bachira was not weird and she knew it. Bachira explained that his friends were at fault. Then his mother advised Bachira by saying, "They're not exactly wrong. Fighting is bad. But the things you feel, these kids probably can't feel them at all." Then Bachira asked what he should do. He just wanted to play soccer with someone, because it was more fun than video games. Then his mom laughed and said, "Good for you. It's a wonderful thing to have something you believe in. You just have to keep believing like that. When people become adults, and while they're pretending to not hear it, they stop believing, even when they don't want to. They actually become unable to hear their own voice. The thing that you're trying to believe is something fleeting yet precious. It's the voice of a monster that lives in your heart. You see, Mommy has always believed in that voice." Bachira Meguru loved the paintings that his mom drew, second only to soccer. One day, when he looked at his mother's painting, he said, "This is the monster inside Mommy. Then I wonder what kind of monster is inside me. This happiness that only I can feel, I can believe in this feeling." And so, Bachira started to play soccer with a monster. From the distance, his friend saw Bachira was very weird because he was now playing soccer with his imaginary friend. Bachira became a little bigger. Some people good at soccer started to be around him. But even still, Bachira was the best among them. If it were the monster, they'd do a super special play. The fun that he felt, there must exist other people who also feel it surely. Since these strikers were inside the screen, all could play just like the monster. One day, he wanna play soccer like that. Someday, I want to meet someone who can understand this fun from the bottom of their heart. At some point, everyone pretended to not see it. They stopped hearing the monster's voice. At some point, everyone stopped believing in the fun of soccer. Bachira Meguru kept believing. But the truth is sometimes he gets scared, and nobody ever understands him. What if things stay like this? What if he has to play soccer alone forever? When Bachira thinks like that, he feels so lonely that he could die. One day, when Bachira came home after soccer practice, his mother greeted him and asked him what was going on, because Bachira was looking down. Bachira replied that he was fine. Then his mother told him that there was a letter for him from the Japanese Soccer Association. The letter reads, "Bachira Meguru, you've been invited to a special training camp." Upon seeing the letter, her mother was delighted and told Bachira to go. And that's how Bachira arrived at Blue Lock. Right after arriving at Blue Lock, just as a sleeping Bachira was waking up, that was when the game of tag was starting. It was time for the fighting in Blue Lock to start. That's when Jinpachi Ego started the match and told them the rules of the game. He said, "Whoever is it when time runs out can get the fuck out of here. And of course, no using your hands." At that moment, Bachira started to feel excited. Because surely, in Blue Lock there are people playing all kinds of soccer. Among these people, there must be someone who's the same as the monster, he believes that. Or rather, when he thinks about the time he had to play by himself. This place where he can get serious about playing soccer is like heaven. But there was one thing that Bachira was afraid. What if, even here there weren't anyone on par with the monster? There wasn't anyone who could understand him. If that was the case, it'd be so lonely that he could die. He'd be going back to those days, and that'd be the worst case. He don't want to be alone anymore. So even if he's a little scared, and even if he will be sad if he fails, he will believe. He has been longing for this for so long. If there was a monster, the strongest among all, he'd be there. Bachira felt like he was being told, "Pass to him. This guy is the monster." That's why Bachira Meguru believes in Isagi Yoichi. At 4th stage training field, Bachira thought about Isagi. Since then, the one who understood my soccer the most. I believe that the one who could feel the same joy was Isagi. And of course, that hasn't changed. However, Bachira thought about what Rin had said earlier, that Bachira's soccer was looking for someone, and was afraid to fight alone. Bachira called Rin, and he said, "Do you also have a monster inside you?" Rin was confused by Bachira's question. So Bachira explained. He said, "Not like a real monster. Like an image of the soccer that you want to happen. I think that every amazing player has one." Then Rin replied, "Hell if I know. It's because you're controlled by that childish nonsense, that you're playing as cowardly and lukewarm. Go play soccer with that monster for all your life. Meanwhile, I'll become the #1 in the world." For a moment Bachira thought, Rin might have a kind of monster that I don't understand yet. One that's different from Isagi. Then they walked out of the practice field. And before they knew it, Isagi was waiting outside the room. "Yo, Bachira, I've been looking for you. Like we promised, I've come to steal you back." And now Bachira will fight in order to confirm this. Between Isagi Yoichi and Itoshi Rin, who is the monster? The revenge against the top 3 begins. Destroy Rin and steal Bachira. Until here this episode, what do you think? Give your opinion about this episode. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the latest videos. Thank you for watching. And see you next time.